Hello friends, my name is Ryan. I'm going to tell you a story named The Menendez Brothers: A Family Tragedy Unfolds, which is a very amazing story full of twists. So, let's start. It was a warm evening in Beverly Hills, California, back in 1989. The Menendez family seemed to have it all: wealth, luxury, and a picture-perfect life. Jose Menendez, a self-made businessman, was the head of the family. His wife, Kitty, was a former beauty queen who had traded the glamour of her youth for the role of a doting mother. Their sons, Lyle and Eric, were the kind of boys any parent would envy. Or so it seemed. Behind the grand doors of their palatial home, however, lay a reality that was far from ideal. The family's life was riddled with tension, secrecy, and buried truths that were about to explode in the most horrifying way imaginable. One Sunday evening, the Menendez mansion echoed with the sound of gunshots. Neighbors heard the chaos but dismissed it, thinking it might just be another Hollywood party gone wild. No one could imagine that Jose and Kitty Menendez were lying lifeless in their living room, their bodies riddled with bullets. When the police arrived, it was Lyle, the elder son, who made the frantic 911 call. His voice shook as he screamed, "Someone killed my parents." Eric, the younger brother, was equally distraught, sobbing uncontrollably. To anyone watching, they seemed like two devastated sons, shattered by the brutal murder of their parents. The investigation began, and detectives were baffled. The crime scene was gruesome, yet there were no signs of forced entry. The Menendez family's wealth suggested a possible motive for robbery, but nothing valuable was missing from the house. The case appeared to be a dead end, but the truth was far more twisted than anyone could have anticipated. The brothers, despite their apparent grief, soon began to raise suspicions. In the days following the murders, they didn't act like typical mourning sons. Instead of planning a quiet funeral, they indulged in extravagant shopping sprees. Lyle purchased an expensive Rolex watch and a Porsche. Eric, not to be outdone, splurged on designer clothes and luxury items. The police couldn't ignore this strange behavior. What's more, their story didn't quite add up. The brothers initially claimed they had been out at the time of the murders, watching a movie. But under closer scrutiny, inconsistencies in their alibi began to surface. Detectives started to wonder, were these grieving sons hiding something? As weeks turned into months, the pressure mounted. Eric, the younger and more emotionally fragile of the two, cracked first. In a therapy session, he confessed to the murders, unable to bear the weight of the secret any longer. His therapist, bound by duty, reported the confession to the authorities. The revelation shocked the nation. How could two sons commit such a heinous act against their own parents? The trial that followed was one of the most sensational in American history. The defense painted a picture of a family riddled with abuse. Jose Menendez, they claimed, was a tyrant who controlled his family with an iron fist. Kitty, meanwhile, was portrayed as a mother who turned a blind eye to the suffering of her children. The brothers testified that years of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse had driven them to the breaking point. On that fateful night, they claimed they believed their parents were planning to kill them to silence their cries for help. In a state of fear and desperation, they said, they decided to strike first. The prosecution, however, presented a different narrative. They argued that the murders were premeditated and motivated by greed. The Menendez brothers, they claimed, wanted their parents' fortune and saw murder as the quickest way to get it. The trial captivated audiences across the country. Courtrooms were packed, and TV channels aired every detail. People debated endlessly, were the brothers victims of unimaginable abuse, or were they cold-blooded killers? After months of testimony and deliberation, the jury was unable to reach a unanimous decision. A mistrial was declared, and the case was retried. This time, both brothers were found guilty of first-degree murder. They were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Even today, the story of the Menendez brothers sparks intense debate. Were they victims pushed to the brink by years of torment, or were they master manipulators who used tales of abuse to justify an unforgivable crime? And that, my friends, is the story of the Menendez brothers: A Family Tragedy Unfolds. A tale that reminds us that appearances can be deceiving, and the truth is often more complex than it seems. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more chilling and suspense-filled tales, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Until next time, this is Ryan signing off. Stay curious, and stay safe.